It's spinning! Into the freezer with him!
You might think of SpongeBob as the goofy, cheerful sponge who lives in a pineapple under the sea. But what if I told you that some episodes of SpongeBob SquarePants are so dark, they were banned? Yes, you heard me right. Nickelodeon, the network that's brought us decades of childhood joy, actually pulled episodes from the air for reasons that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about Bikini Bottom. It's not just about bad jokes or silly antics. Some episodes of SpongeBob went too far, dealing with real uncomfortable issues like paranoia, aging, and humiliation. Things you wouldn't expect from a kid's cartoon. And the network realized this, pulling them before kids could fully digest what was going on. So, what exactly happened behind the scenes? What was so unsettling that Nickelodeon felt the need to hit the delete button? Let's break it down. SpongeBob was always a show that, on the surface, was harmless fun. But there are episodes that went places most fans never saw coming. If you're ready for the shocking truth about what happened to these banned episodes and why Nickelodeon pulled the plug, stay tuned. You won't look at Bikini Bottom the same way after this. One of the most infamous banned episodes is Midlife Crustacean, where Mr. Krabs, the money-hungry crab we all know and love, faces a crisis that takes the show into some very uncomfortable territory. What starts as a typical episode about Mr. Krabs' obsession with money quickly turns into something darker, his fear of aging. The plot starts innocently enough. Mr. Krabs wakes up, looks in the mirror, and is struck by a harsh truth. He's getting older, but instead of dealing with it in the usual Krusty Krab fashion, he spirals. He asks his daughter Pearl, "Do you think I'm old?" And her brutally honest answer is, "Of course I do."
Do you think I'm old?
Well, of course I do, but that's okay. Daddies are supposed to be old.
But that's okay. Daddies are supposed to be old. That's the moment Mr. Krabs cracks. The episode takes a turn from silly to unsettling. As Krabs tries to find a way to regain his youth, he overhears SpongeBob and Patrick talking about a wild night they're planning. Desperate, Krabs invites himself along, thinking that this will somehow make him feel young again. What follows next? A panty raid, a phrase that in itself is far too inappropriate for a kid's cartoon. Mr. Krabs, SpongeBob, and Patrick break into a woman's home and steal her underwear. But what happens next? It's the big twist that takes this episode to a level Nickelodeon couldn't allow to air. So, here's where the episode goes from strange to downright uncomfortable. As Mr. Krabs, SpongeBob, and Patrick break into a house for their wild night, they go straight to a drawer to steal the woman's underwear. Krabs, thrilled by his success, dances with the prize, unaware of just how wrong things are about to get. And then, the twist. You see, this isn't just some random woman's house. It's Mr. Krabs' mother's house. The underwear in his claws, they belong to her. When she wakes up and catches him in the act, the shock and humiliation on Mr. Krabs' face is enough to make anyone feel uncomfortable. What was supposed to be a ridiculous gag suddenly becomes tragic. The once proud and untouchable Mr. Krabs is reduced to a laughingstock, a man caught in the most awkward, disturbing situation imaginable. This is where Midlife Crustacean crossed a line. It wasn't just a joke about the absurdity of aging. It was about Mr. Krabs' desperate denial of growing older. His embarrassment and humiliation overshadow what was supposed to be a slapstick, comedic moment. Instead of laughs, the viewer is left with a feeling of unease. Nickelodeon couldn't ignore that. They pulled the episode for being too much. Too dark, too awkward, and frankly too disturbing for a children's show. If Midlife Crustacean was banned for being awkward and inappropriate, Quarantined Crab was pulled for being downright terrifying. On the surface, it seemed like a typical SpongeBob setup. The Krusty Krab gets locked down because of a supposed health scare. But what followed was more like a psychological thriller than a lighthearted cartoon. The inspector declares that everyone inside the Krusty Krab must stay put for 2 weeks. The door slams shut, and just like that, Bikini Bottom's cheerful burger joint transforms into a prison. Fear creeps in almost instantly. Characters who were once goofy friends turn on each other with suspicion. Mr. Krabs, always paranoid when it comes to his business, takes things to an extreme. He decides that anyone who even might be sick should be locked away in the freezer. freezer. SpongeBob becomes his first target, then Squidward, then Pearl. One by one, the crew is dragged away. Not because they're infected, but because paranoia convinces Krabs they are. The atmosphere gets darker with every scene. SpongeBob, trapped in the ice, tries to laugh it off, but viewers can't ignore how unsettling it is to see beloved characters isolated like prisoners. By the time the inspector admits it was all a false alarm, the Krusty Krab has been destroyed, the crew battered, and trust between friends shattered. What began as a silly joke ended as one of the darkest chapters in SpongeBob's history. Quarantined Krab wasn't just banned because it was dark. It tapped into something that made it feel far too real for a kid's cartoon. This episode aired during a time when the world was already grappling with a real-life pandemic. The fear, the isolation, the anxiety. These were things viewers were already living through. And here was a show aimed at kids, making a joke out of the very real horrors of quarantine and sickness. What's more disturbing is how quickly the show shifts from a simple premise into a nightmare. Once the characters are locked in, the paranoia takes over. Mr. Krabs, driven by fear, becomes a dictator, locking away anyone he deems a potential threat. The trust that once existed between the crew falls apart. SpongeBob and Patrick, usually the innocent, lighthearted ones, are swept into the madness, adding to the tension. The violence that erupts between them is jarring, and the Krusty Krab becomes a war zone, not a restaurant. By the end of the episode, even the comedy feels forced and hollow. What was supposed to be a goofy scenario has morphed into a metaphor for real-world panic, distrust, and the breakdown of relationships. Nickelodeon couldn't allow this to air, not when it so closely mirrored the collective fear of an entire generation. The episode was locked away, and fans were left with the unsettling question, how far is too far for a kid's show? So what do we learn from these banned episodes? SpongeBob SquarePants, a show that for years had been considered innocent and lighthearted, ventured into some uncharted, darker waters. It wasn't just about being edgy or making adults laugh at inappropriate jokes. It was about exploring the human experience in ways kids' shows rarely do. Take Mr. Krabs' midlife crisis, for example. It wasn't just a joke about getting older. It explored the fear, the denial, and the lengths one will go to avoid confronting those truths. Aging isn't funny when it's tied to humiliation and desperation. The same goes for Quarantined Krab. It wasn't just a cartoon about a fake pandemic. It mirrored the real, raw emotions of isolation, paranoia, and betrayal. Things that everyone, especially kids, were already experiencing in the real world. The fact that SpongeBob tackled these topics in such an unsettling way made it harder for fans and parents to accept. These episodes are a stark reminder that cartoons, despite their lighthearted appearances, can hold deeper meanings. They often touch on themes that resonate far more with adults than children. And while these episodes may have been pulled from the air, their impact hasn't been erased. They remain as a testament to just how far SpongeBob was willing to go in challenging the expectations of a kid's cartoon. SpongeBob's banned episodes prove that even the most innocent-looking shows can hide darker stories beneath the surface. What was once thought of as harmless fun reveals hidden truths about aging, fear, and trust. What do you think? Did these episodes go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for more hidden secrets in cartoons.
Ultra Mega Quarantine!